The National Electrical Code, or NEC, does not specify a universal minimum height for all panel boards or other electrical equipment. However, there are specific instances where the NEC does dictate minimum heights. Firstly, concerning panel boards located within 1 and 2 family dwelling units, NEC section 110.26. E1 states that these panel boards must have a minimum height of 3 feet 6 inches, which is 1070 millimeters, measured from the floor. Secondly, when considering panel boards installed in commercial buildings, NEC section 110.26. E2 mandates that these panel boards must be situated at least 4 feet, equivalent to 1220 millimeters, above the floor. Outside of these specific scenarios detailed within the NEC, the local authorities maintain the prerogative to establish their own regulations. These local ordinances can then impose further requirements and standards beyond those outlined in the NEC. Local regulations may be more stringent than the NEC. Compliance with local requirements is always necessary, even if they exceed the NEC minimums. Regarding panel board installations, several crucial factors and NEC articles come into play. Firstly, working space around electrical equipment is addressed in NEC Article 110.26. This section focuses on ensuring sufficient space for personnel to safely operate and maintain electrical equipment. The depth of the working space depends on the voltage of the equipment and the conditions present. Condition 1 indicates exposed live parts on one side of the working space and no grounded parts on the other side, or grounded parts that are insulated. Condition 2 describes insulated live parts on one side and grounded parts on the other. Condition 3 exists when exposed live parts are on both sides of the working space. The minimum clear distances for working space, as specified in Table 110.26. A1 range from 3 feet to 4 feet depending on the voltage to ground and the condition. For example, if the voltage to ground is 151 volts to 600 volts and condition 1 applies, the minimum clear distance is 3 feet. For the same voltage range but with condition 2, the minimum clear distance is 3 feet 6 inches. Condition 3 for the voltage range requires 4 feet of clear distance. Secondly, dedicated equipment space, found in NEC Article 110.26. E is crucial for protecting electrical equipment from damage and ensuring proper operation. This space must be dedicated to the electrical equipment and should not be used for storage or other purposes. The dedicated space extends from the floor to a height of 6 feet above the equipment or to the structural ceiling, whichever is lower. No foreign equipment, such as piping, ducts, or other equipment not related to the electrical installation, is permitted within this dedicated space. Thirdly, illumination is covered in NEC Article 110.26. D. Adequate illumination is essential for personnel to safely perform tasks on electrical equipment. The NEC requires sufficient illumination to be provided in working spaces around electrical equipment. The lighting should be arranged to minimize glare and shadows, allowing for clear visibility of all equipment and components. Fourthly, access and entrance to working space, as discussed in NEC Article 110.26. C. Must be provided and maintained to allow safe and easy access for qualified personnel. The working space should have at least one entrance of sufficient area to provide unobstructed access to the equipment. For equipment rated 1200 amps or more and over 6 feet wide, there must be an entrance at each end of the working space. The dimensions of the entrance must be at least 24 inches wide and 6 feet 6 inches high. Fifthly, height of working space, addressed in NEC Article 110.26. E specifies that the minimum headroom clearance for working spaces around electrical equipment must be 6 feet 6 inches. This ensures that personnel can stand upright and move freely while working on the equipment. These NEC articles 110.26. A. 110.26. E. 110.26. D. Him 110.26. C. Work in conjunction to ensure a safe and functional environment for electrical installations. These articles dictate the requirements for working space, dedicated equipment space, illumination, and access to promote safety and operational efficiency. When installing or inspecting electrical equipment, it is important to consult the most recent edition of the NEC and any applicable local codes to ensure compliance with all requirements. It is also important to consult with a qualified electrical contractor or engineer to ensure that the installation is performed safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and standards. For example, when dealing with a 480 volts panel board, one must consider the working space requirements outlined in NEC 110.26. A1. If there are exposed live parts on one side and grounded parts on the other, a minimum of 3 feet of clay space is required. If there are exposed live parts on both sides, the required clay space increases to 4 feet. Additionally, NEC 110.26 E requires a dedicated equipment space extending from the floor to a height of 6 feet above the equipment or the structural ceiling, whichever is lower. This space cannot contain any foreign equipment. Proper illumination, as per NEC 110.26 D, must also be provided to ensure safe operation and maintenance of the panel board. The NEC provides comprehensive guidelines for electrical installations. It is crucial to understand and adhere to these guidelines to ensure safety and prevent electrical hazards. In summary, while the NEC has minimum height requirements for panel boards and dwelling units in commercial buildings, local regulations may impose additional requirements. Understanding and complying with both NEC standards and local regulations is essential for safe and compliant electrical installations. Furthermore, factors such as working space, dedicated equipment space, illumination, and accessibility play a crucial role in ensuring safe and efficient operation and maintenance of electrical equipment.